Hi everyone, this is Kate from White Light Temple, and I'm here to share with you today. Today is my 14th day in lockdown in France, and I have to say that the last 14 days have certainly been more peaceful for me than the previous 14. It's certainly been a month of whirlwind of roller coaster emotions for me, along with the rest of the world. And while I like to identify myself with being a positive, happy, high vibrational person, this month has certainly been really challenging for me. As I went through a lot of the challenges on many levels that so many people around the world have gone through, and I just want to share a little bit about how I have managed to come through that and step through that. And one of the greatest tools that I've used in the last month and it is the knowledge of what I'm going to share with you now. And when you have this knowledge, then you can consciously think, or you can consciously identify with where you're at. And from that place, you can, once you've identified where you're at and you acknowledge and accept where you're at, you can work through that and work to the next level. So I have used a tool this last month, which is a tool I've been using for many years. This was something that I referred to in my book that I published 6 years ago now, and I'm talking about the emotional guidance scale, which is from a book called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. And in this emotional guidance scale, Dr. Hawkins has managed to quantify the frequency that different emotions vibrate at, and he's given them all a level. And you can Google the emotional guidance scale and you can see this chart that I'm referring to, and I have a printout copy. I actually love to refer to it in times when I'm finding myself deep in emotion, or deep in overwhelm or worry or anxiety. So this is one of my tools that I would regularly fall back upon. So it was only maybe 3 weeks ago that I found myself pretty much at the bottom of this guidance scale. So I'm going to share the guidance scale through the process of the emotions that I have gone through in the last 3 weeks, because chances are that a lot of you will find that you are somewhere along this spectrum of emotions. And once you identify where you are, you can actually at least consciously see a path that can help you step out of where you are and at least reach for a higher frequency emotion to be in. And there's nothing wrong with feeling and experiencing these emotions. What we don't want to do is to be stuck in them, because when we're stuck in them, it holds us back. And right now, we're needing to put our own oxygen mask on, and we're needing to put it on as, I don't want to say as quickly as possible. You know how quickly you need to put your own oxygen mask on, so I don't need to tell you what that time frame is. But the sooner you put your oxygen mask on, the sooner you can help others. And you do that by, it's really difficult if you are in a low frequency emotion such as fear or powerlessness or depression. It's really hard to reach out and pull the others around you up, because it's you really can't affect others beyond the frequency of which you are vibrating at any particular point in time. When there are two people, let's say two people in a room who are vibrating at different frequencies, the stronger person, or the more dominant frequency, will often win. And this isn't necessarily the highest frequency. It could be, and you may have had this experience where you're feeling quite good, you get a phone call from a friend, and after they dump all of their stuff, all of their baggage on you, they say at the end of the conversation, wow, now I feel fantastic. But you hang up the phone and you're actually feeling really quite drained and low. So our frequency can affect other people. When we're in a negative frequency, we can actually unknowingly, and I'm sure we never would want to, we can actually bring other people down to that frequency. Likewise, if you're in a high frequency and you can hold that, you can remain in that high frequency while you also help to bring others to the frequency that you're at. And that's what I'm endeavoring to do through this video and through the videos that I'm posting at the moment, to share how I've managed to go from the low emotional frequency up to a much higher place. So in the book, Dr. David Hawkins gives each emotion an actual number, a frequency number, and I'm not going to share all the numbers today because I don't actually have the chart in front of me. What I do know is at the bottom of the range of frequencies, you have got fear, grief, depression, powerlessness, and victim mode, so feeling like the victim, and that's vibrating at a level of what we call 100. And the highest frequency on this chart is a level 1000, which is enlightenment. And so there's a range of frequencies, a range of emotions in between those two numbers. So I definitely found myself 3 weeks ago in gripped by fear. I was fearful because I was at work. I believed that I had been in contact with somebody with coronavirus, even though at that point in time I didn't have a positive test to confirm it. I was therefore worried about my own health, and then I was worried about the domino effect of that. So the domino effect of, you know, what if I get sick? What if I can't work? What if I can't fly home to see my family? What if? There was a lot of fear that I was really feeling on many levels. And, you know, 3 weeks ago, I didn't know as much about coronavirus as I do now. 3 weeks ago, it was a lot more about what the media was telling me at that point in time, and the media didn't know as much in early March as they do now. We're in early April, so I was definitely caught up in that cycle of fear, and it may not have lasted, you know, all day, every day. It didn't last for a long time, but there were days where I was fearful because this whole thing was kind of shaking up my world. And I know that many of you have also been either yourselves personally at a point where it's kind of rocking the peaceful flow of your life. Either you've been affected by job loss, or you've been affected by having to make a decision whether to pull kids out of school or not, or you've been affected by being concerned about doing the basic things like, you know, pushing your shopping trolley around the supermarket, and, you know, is somebody going to cough on you while you're out there? You know, just all of this fear that didn't exist in our life just such a short time ago. And it was so much of the unknown. We're fearful of what we don't know. So I did spend a few days in that fear, dwelling on worst case scenarios, doing all of the what ifs, until I actually stepped out of fear. It wasn't even a conscious decision. I actually stepped up the emotional scale into anger. And I didn't identify this at the time, but anger is actually a better emotion to be in than fear, because when you're in fear, you're often paralyzed and you can't move. So at least when you're angry, you're starting to be able to take some, a tiny bit of action forward. It kind of takes you out of that emotional stuckness. So anger is actually a higher frequency than fear, not by a lot, but it was better for me. I was angry at the doctor who didn't test the person that I'd been in contact with. I was angry at myself that I had put myself in this situation, hadn't reacted sooner, hadn't cottoned on sooner. I was angry that I thought the government should have been taking action much quicker. I read a study about St. Louis in the USA and how well they fared during the Spanish flu in the early 1900s, and they did immediate lockdown for all people, and they did so well. Their outcomes were amazing. And so I read that and I'm like, well, they figured it out 100 years ago. Why are the governments acting so slowly? And there was a little bit of victim mode in that, because I was waiting for the government to save us. And folks, we can't rely on anyone outside of us. We can hope. We can, have a lot of hope that everyone, the government included, and people will make good decisions. But we can't trust that anyone will have our best interest at heart as much as we will. So you really need to take control into your own hands and not wait to be told what to do, but to take action yourself. So it was actually a really positive thing that I'd stepped into anger, and maybe some of you have as well. After anger, I went up into worry. I worried about myself, my family. I worried about my, I started to worry about my community. I started to worry about my family and friends who are back home in Australia. I started to worry about the world. Went into worry about the people in third world countries who don't have the hospital equipment, who don't have the medical expertise, who don't have the conditions to deal with this when it hits. And I'm really, really scared for them. So I went into a lot of worry for everyone. And while this wasn't a fantastic place to be, it was so much better than the anger and the fear. So I was slowly moving along this emotional scale. After worry, I did go into overwhelm for a while. It was just all too much, and it was difficult to comprehend the enormity of what was going on and the pain that was being experienced around the world. And I wanted to help, and it's like, oh my God, how I'm not medically trained. What help can I possibly offer? Even though there are so many people out there hurting, so many people needing help. But I went into overwhelm. On the emotional scale, the next thing is boredom. And boredom is something I've never experienced in my life. I have zero concept what boredom is, because I actually enjoy in my downtime, if I have a few moments to myself, I enjoy just being in the moment, in the stillness. To me, that is the ultimate time to to just be at one with myself. So I don't get boredom, but I do get that so many hundreds of thousands, millions of people are bored right now. And I actually think that's a good thing, in that when you're bored, that's when you have the time to start listening to the little voice that's within, and start to ask questions that you maybe haven't asked yourself, maybe for a long time, maybe ever. So, you know, those deep, meaningful questions, who am I and why am I here, and what's actually going on in this world, and is there, some good that can come out of this, and what can I do to help some good come out of this, and those more meaningful questions. So I'm hoping that some people may put down their phone and put down their games and actually start to spend some time in that deeper contemplation. And I think having fun is amazing, but when you're having fun, you're not really bored. So boredom is a much higher vibration than the lower ones. After boredom, we move into being hopeful, being optimistic, and we start to expect some relief. So for people who have gone through these emotions and maybe been told that they're now going to receive, for some countries it's 80% of their income will be paid to them from the government. For some, and I have to say they're the lucky countries. Some governments are giving a cash handout to the people. Some governments haven't announced yet what's going on. But for people who have some idea that, they're expecting some kind of help is coming, some kind of help is being promised, and they can go into a sense of expecting and feeling relieved that some things are taken care of, which allows them to take care of the other things that need to be addressed at this point in time. So I feel that this range of emotions is what somewhere on this scale is where a lot of the world is at right now. And I've certainly been on that spectrum of emotion over I'd say the first 2 to 3 weeks in March. I was moving up that emotional scale. I have now stepped from that expectation. The next levels are enthusiasm and passion, and I have found that through the extra time I've had to meditate and do some healing work, and what's come of that is a newfound passion to actually just get out there and really step into my mission and doing what I came here to do. And so from there, the next stage you're looking at is love and peace and joy. And I have definitely stepped into a sense of love where I am no longer questioning what's in it for me, what can I do to help myself. I'm just stepping into being heart-centered, coming from a place of love and saying, how can I serve others right now? I put my own oxygen mask on. I'm now breathing. I'm feeling quite peaceful, and now it's time for me to, from a place of love and that heart-centered approach, step out into the world and say, hey guys, I'm here to help. I want to help. Who can I help? And people have been reaching out to me and asking me for their help, and I've been able to, at different varying degrees, give some level of guidance on not so much what to do, but to help people get into that calm centered space where they're feeling empowered rather than disempowered, for them to tap into knowing and their intuition of what their next step needs to be. So after love, joy and peace, we step into enlightenment. I'm a long way from there, but every time I even momentarily think of the worry, the fear, anything like that, I just go back to my heart space, take 3 deep breaths, and just think about who can I, from that heart space, who can I serve from a heart-centered way with no expectation of anything in return. It's just about giving, and if there's any way that I could help you, do please reach out to me, and I will certainly let you know what I can provide, what I can help with, and you know, very happy to really help people who've lost their income to just bring them back into center, and happy to do that for free to help them to get centered, and so they're in a much more empowered space to be able to find the next step that's right for them. So I hope that this helps you all. It's okay wherever you are on that scale, but just know that once you feel and experience that emotion, it can be good to release it and focus on moving onto a higher frequency space, because whatever level you're vibrating at, whatever frequency your emotion is, they're the kinds of experiences you're going to attract into your life. So you don't want to stay in those disempowered emotions for a long period of time. And once you're in those higher frequencies, that's when you can actually start to make a difference in the lives of others. And if you're watching this video, I know that you want to make a difference in the world, and my job is to help as many people as possible step into making the difference that they came here to make. So love and light. If you enjoyed this, please like the video, share, and if you subscribe, you'll be given my daily updates so that you don't miss any of the other tips that I've got to share with you. Love and light.